Danny McMahon.
Joe Gaspar, what's up?
You are, man. You are, as always.
I'm up on a Monday night to do the pod for the
That
pod listeners.
that's right. That's right. Thank you for joining us after well, I guess we both have had busy days. You at
Yes.
uh, you at your daytime gig, me
Mm-hmm.
at the bike shop. Um,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, good, man. Yeah, everything's good. Everything's
Good.
things are good. Things are. I think we were chatting before the show. The season is underway. We are now. I, it's like a river just carrying you. You're just swimming upstream. You're just never from here until October, September. You're just not. You're never caught up. You know.
We're salmoning.
Yeah, yeah. It's just putting out fires constantly,
Yep.
but it gets
Mm-hmm.
easier. It gets easier. You just get into the rhythm of things, and you know, trying to find things right now are still very difficult.
I have to ask, Joe, did you survive? I believe you survived the tornado this evening.
Well, I was waiting for it. I went out on my.
You wanted it to
Well,
come?
I mean, there was a lot of buildup. There were
Mm-hmm.
sirens and alarms, and Alexa was yelling at me. My phone was
Uh-oh.
chirping. There were
Mm-hmm.
phone calls coming in uh, from various people. We actually left. I let the employees leave early today just because we caught wind that the winds might be coming, and so
I see what you did there.
just said, let's get everybody out. Let's clear the decks. Let's pull the bikes in. Let's get ready for this thing because it looks like it's going to be a beast. And then
Yeah.
nothing, zero here.
Well, yeah. So I was going to say we didn't, you know, see a tornado here, but it
Mm-hmm.
was definitely gnarly here.
Mm-hmm.
It was, like you said, it was a buildup, and it was just getting darker and more ominous looking out. Excuse me, outside, and eventually we did have very significant rain, but not for a very long time. I don't think we had any hail,
Mm-hmm.
and then there was a whole lot of like legit lightning, and there was some good thunder. And it was just very intense for a while, and then it kind of like passed and kind of cleared up. I just got back from a little run, so it's actually very lovely outside right
From an
now. But
actual run, like
I did
run,
I just ran for a mile,
you ran. I
just for a
didn't.
mile.
I didn't know you ran. I didn't know that there was like that
I'm
was
a.
in your that was
I
something
mean,
that you did.
we should put run here in quotes.
Uh huh.
No, I used to run a tiny little bit. I used to do like 2 5Ks a week
Uh huh.
when I was like, yeah, working out a lot more a few years back, especially for cyclocross. It was like cross training.
Sure.
Because for cross you're hopping on off the bike, you got to have like good ankles. Cyclists, I think, traditionally have pretty weak ankles.
Mm-hmm.
So my coach is like, try some running. So I like running, but I don't like running super long distance. I think the longest I've ever run is like 10 miles. I'm certainly not very fast, but yeah, tonight I wanted to get out and do something really quick, so I
Uh
just
huh.
ran a mile. The boulevards are nice because I can run to the end and then turn around and come back, and that's like exactly 1 mile. So
Oh, nice.
it was more just to get out for a minute and do
Sure.
something as opposed to like working out. But my point being that it was very lovely out. I mean, it's a little tropical,
Mm-hmm.
a little humid, but kind of nice after the storm. And there were some people walking around hand in hand, so it was kind of nice. But the storm was intense for a little bit. I hope there's not too much damage because I
Right.
heard they recorded 89-mile-per-hour winds at O'Hare.
Wow.
And I saw something on Twitter. See, in these situations, I was talking to Sarah. My journalism training kicks in a little bit. So whenever there's something like this that happens, you start to see a lot of fake videos.
Mm-hmm.
You have these people who take advantage, and they'll start posting like, "Oh my God, this just happened by my house," and you see like a roof fly off someone's house, like Wizard of Oz or something. And then it turns out, oh, that was from like Oklahoma in 2016 or something like that. So,
Mm-hmm.
but I did see that there was some gnarly looking damage, but again, I didn't verify it. So I don't want Bike Shop Society to, make any claims to any destruction of property.
Well, if you think that that will help us gain some followers, I will look for some really cool videos and just start tweeting it out about what happened in Chicago.
But I wasn't aware. Mondays I kind of chill out a little bit more, so I
Mm-hmm.
wasn't really planning on like a ride or anything, and so I kind of wasn't as tuned into the forecast as I normally would be, and
Yeah.
so I just knew there would be a chance for some rain like earlier, and then sure enough, it's like yeah, my phone lit up that warning alert that Cook
Mm-hmm.
County sends out or whatever, and yeah, it got very intense pretty quickly. So we
Y-
we're watching Tom Skilling on Channel 9 and staying away from the windows and
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
cat was going a little. Cat was running for under the bed.
Oh, yeah, I saw they cleared out the baseball game over at the Cubs were playing over at Wrigley Field, and they cleared out the stadium there. They made everybody go underground, or
Did
into
you
the
see?
tunnels.
Yeah, exactly. And Sarah and I were wondering, like, what are they going to do with all these people? But did you
Hmm.
see the lightning strike that they showed on TV?
No.
So
Mm-mm.
someone on like some social platform posted it. He was far from Wrigley, but you could see Wrigley in the distance. And at one point, you wait for it, and there's this crazy electric strike, this lightning strike. It hits hits Wrigley Field proper.
Wow.
Yeah, it was going a little viral. So anyway, it passed and it went on to Indiana. Hopefully they're okay.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I hope so. I hope so. Um,
What does Frida, your rot, do in these situations?
no, she's cool, man. She's like a rock. She turned to look at the sky, which I thought was kind of interesting as it was lighting up. But it all
Hmm.
blew. It was all east of us. It was east of our kind of swept north and east of where I'm located. But just 4 miles away, it looked pretty bad. Just
Yeah,
north of us, it was they were reporting 80
hmm
75, 80 mile an hour winds in LaGrange. As you know where LaGrange is
yep,
relative to me, it's
hmm
not that far away. So
super close. Yeah,
yeah, but we didn't get anything. Not even rain. I mean,
it's funny
nothing.
how Mother Nature works like that. I heard like some of the hardest hit might have been like Schaumburg and some of those areas.
I hope we have listeners somewhere in um, France or Singapore who are former Chicago people who are getting really jacked by hearing maybe their hometown of Schaumburg mentioned, LaGrange, Skokie. Let's just do it. We'll give
Niles, Carroll
Niles.
Stream,
Mm-hmm.
Streamwood.
Sure. Homewood.
Uh, Oak Lawn actually got a shout out on WGN for
Yes.
Tornado Watch. I
Yeah,
was like, woo,
yeah,
represent.
yeah. There was Oak Lawn, Burbank. It's kind of exciting when they mention our burbs, and it's not like it's not involving a drive by or
Or hit and run,
hit
or
and
yeah,
run or something boring. This is like
corrupt mayor.
hmm
Yeah, no, it was cool. And there's always that little kid in me that's like, ooh, they said Oak Lawn.
yeah, I know. You still get excited when you hear your town mentioned, your
Mm-hmm.
hometown mentioned, or your part of your neck of the woods.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Did you have a good weekend?
yeah, it was just a busy weekend at the bike shop. Just busy, busy, busy. Yeah, busy Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. It's all kind of a blur. You come out of those weekends, you don't know what you sold, what you promised to people. I mean, you're kind of looking through notes. And, Monday, you take a deep breath and start just kind of going through things, and you take in repairs. And it's Monday's a really busy day for me personally at bike shop. Traditionally at bike shops, I think Mondays are pretty busy coming off of weekends because you take in a lot of repairs over the weekends. You sell a lot of things for one, but also for us, we're maintenance heavy or repair heavy at the shop. So we get a lot of broken things in, and Mondays are days of just Mondays and Tuesdays is just hunting things down, figuring out what's wrong with the bikes because people, on Saturdays and Sundays, we're not, we're taking it in, but we're not putting it in the stand and unraveling their mess. And we're located um, on the mountain bike trail system for the city of Chicago, basically, or for the Chicagoland area. And the bikes that we get are usually pretty, someone's twisted up a derailleur or Yeah, I mean, it's usually something really bad, catastrophic, where they're carrying the bike in and, just taking the thing apart, just getting the wheel off and kind of figuring out what's going on is always work. It's just work. A lot of broken derailleur hangers. That like
Hmm.
today, half of my day, a quarter of my day was spent figuring out what hanger someone needs, um, finding it, getting it on order,
Yeah.
derailleurs. Those are a lot of people just get suffer those issues at the mountain bike trail system. So,
Now I have to say, correct me if I'm wrong. Like
hmm
derailleur hangers obviously don't cost that much, but derailleurs are obviously very expensive.
hmm
Can be very expensive.
hmm
So that sounds like kind of a lucrative revenue
yeah,
stream.
it's a great one actually. I mean, I
Not
mean,
that you wish it on your customers, but hey, if
no,
it happens,
it's a
I'm
common
here. I got a derailleur.
it's a really it's a common issue, and it doesn't matter what kind of bike you have or how old the bike is or who you are. So seasoned mountain bikers kind of are familiar with it, maybe even have experienced it a time or two.
Sure.
Um, but I get a lot of parents in with like really like you could see it on their face, and the poor kid is standing there, and then I try to. I do my best to get the kid out of trouble. I'm like, listen, look, there's a $5,000 bike, there's a $3,000 bike. It happens to everybody. There's a lot of times
So wait,
there's
the
nothing you can
parents
do.
the parents are upset with the kid
Oh,
for breaking the
oh yeah,
derailleur?
they think that the
That
kid.
sounds like a little
Oh,
wrong. It's like
oh,
they didn't do it
really?
intentionally, did they?
There's a lot of really interesting parent-kid interactions at the bike shop. Where the kid is there with kind of his head down, and
It's like getting mad at your kid for like the transmission going out in the car. It's like unless they're like messing with it or something,
yeah,
it happens.
they just assume that the kid did something really bad to the bike. Because it's a pretty ugly looking thing when the derailleur
Yep.
gets sucked in there. Um, and
Hmm.
and it's expensive. It's not a cheap repair. In some cases you're talking a quarter of the price of the bike for some of these bikes that I'm seeing. Between the derailleur, oftentimes the chain is twisted, and if the bike is old, the chain and the cassette are worn. So you got to do a chain and a cassette and a derailleur and the labor to fix everything and the hanger. So I mean, and in a really really bad case, Danny, a wheel, because the
Ooh.
chain will get into the wheel and tear up spokes. I mean, it depends on how determined the person was to try to just pedal through their issue. And sometimes we get really, really bad ones. And in a really extreme case, they'll actually ruin the bike. They'll go past the hanger and just like, I don't know what they're, maybe they just hit it the right way, but I mean, just really, really bad. Bad.
Yeah, I was gonna
So,
say that
mhm.
that's pretty. I know broke snap derailleurs are fairly common in cyclocross because you get all that mud and
hmm
especially the tacky peanut butter kind of mud, and it's just it'll just snap that derailleur right
Yeah,
off.
it doesn't take much, and it's still that's the Achilles heel of the bicycle is the chain.
Mhm.
My old boss, Mark, our old boss, Mark, told me that one time and pointed that out to me. Is like with all of the innovation in bicycles, the evolution of bikes, the one thing that they haven't really been able um, to get rid of is the chain. It's still the best way of doing things. They've tried to do direct drive, and they've tried
Belt
internal
drive.
hubs, and
Mm.
they've tried different things, but they haven't been able to ditch the chain,
Hmm.
and it's also the most vulnerable part of the bike if you think about it,
Yeah.
so
And I'll be that guy. But for anyone who maybe doesn't know, derailleur is the thing that helps you change the gears.
yeah, that thing hanging off the back there. Well, you can have two of them, although these days on a lot of your fancy bikes, you
Hmm.
don't have a lot of front derailleurs. So
Yep.
the bike industry is determined to ditch the front derailleur one way or the other. At least get rid of one of those. So.
And one of my tests to see if you're a true cyclist is if you could spell derailleur.
Mm-hmm.
If I ever hire a copy editor for my future cycling publication, I'm gonna make them spell derailleur. First time, no mistakes, no spell check,
That is
no autocorrect.
I think that's a difficult one for even some bike shop employees.
I
You know?
think it is
Yeah,
too.
oh, yeah, no. Yeah, I mean,
I had that one and Jamaluddin Abdul-Jabbarov. I have a handful.
oh,
Like you
yeah?
have to spell these like
Huh,
right first time. I got a handful.
nice.
Musette is probably in there.
Mm-hmm.
I got some good ones.
Oh,
I got my little top 10.
that's an interesting thing.
No, it's not. You're just being kind.
No, because I mean, there were a list of things that when new mechanics would walk into the shop at Turin, when I used to work at the first shop I worked at, um, there was a common question that they would just throw at people young guys that wanted to work at the bike shop. It was, what's the difference between Swiss and French thread?
Ooh.
So there were.
What is the difference? I don't even know. One
Yeah,
goes one way, one the other. I don't know.
it's minor, and
Yeah.
I
Super
don't,
like
you know what, I
yeah.
never bothered to learn what the difference between Swiss and French thread was, because I wasn't really, I never fancied myself a bicycle mechanic until later. I didn't have to become a bicycle mechanic until later on in my bike shop
Yeah.
life. Once I owned the bike shop, I had to become a good bike mechanic. But at that time, I was selling hybrids, and I didn't really. I knew it was a question, and I knew it was something that was asked of people coming in, and it's been a topic of conversation over the years with mechanics that have worked in the shop, and they've, one of them of the mechanics, only one really knew what the difference was. And it had something to do with the thread. Well, it's the threading, obviously, but
I love esoteria like that.
Danny, I forgot that there was this thing called Google,
Oh,
and I found it.
I use Bing, Joe.
Oh, you're a Bing guy, huh?
Absolutely.
The French threaded bottom bracket uses 35 by 1 millimeter metric threads right-handed on both sides. The Swiss threaded bottom bracket uses 35 by 1 millimeter metric threads, a right-hand thread on the left and left-handed on the right to avoid the cups to unscrew themselves.
Huh.
So it's 35-1 on both. Or 35-1 is the thread pitch, but one is right-handed on both sides. That's the French, and on the Swiss, it's right-handed on the non-drive side, right? Right-handed on the left side and left-handed on the right. Correct. Yes.
I think I followed that.
Mm-hmm.
Now, does that have any practical application in the real world at your bike shop, which shall remain nameless? Or is this just for some like dude building some weird bike in like Minnesota?
Well, I mean, I think that in the days when right now it's very rare, unless you're a very kind of a specialized bike shop, or you're getting something very odd in the shop that you're working on, a French or a Swiss bicycle. You're not going to deal with a French threaded bottom bracket, or a Swiss.
Do you know that this is gonna be hard to even describe? I can't remember the name. There's a website, and you probably know it.
Mm-hmm.
There's a website, and it's like where you go. I've stumbled upon it many times. I'm sure I have it bookmarked somewhere in my rabbit hole of bookmarks. But it's like this it's a very Web 1.0 looking site. And it's like this, I think he's an older dude, and it's really basic looking website. Like he's just got like text lists and stuff. And it's like every old part and like, you know what I'm talking about? Who is
Sheldon Brown.
Sheldon Brown. I think we talked about him.
Yeah, he was famous. He was like one of the first. He was the bike guy.
Passed?
Yeah, 2007 or 2008, right?
Or 2008. Oh, I didn't know he was gone that long. Oh, that's sad. I thought he was still around maybe, but born in 44. Okay.
That was a big deal. He was one of the first internet things. He was like one of the first big bike phenomenons, I mean, 2008, that was a while ago, and he was, for bike guys and for bicycle mechanics, it was a go-to resource for bike shop people. I mean, it was a lot of information. I mean,
Yes.
he just kind of, vomited his brain onto the internet, and I believe he was dying when he was writing a lot of it. It was like,
Oh
yeah,
no.
like I think he had cancer, or I forget
Mm,
what the exact story was, but I know a lot of it was done when he was at home and kind of homebound by that time, so he had a lot of time
right.
to work on it. And then the bike shop that he worked for assumed some of the responsibility for updating that. So I think it's been updated. I think there's like, I think it didn't just stop in 2008. I believe they have kind of put some more modern information on there. But
It
it's
looks like there's another dude, sorry to interrupt, John
hmm
Allen
hmm
is like a co-conspirator, and then it has a bike shop mentioned Harris Cyclery
yep,
homepage.
hmm
But yeah, thanks for that. Number one. Number two, I love the simplicity, like the old school nature of the website.
yeah,
Like it's
yeah,
just, you know what I mean? It feels like early like Yahoo.
uh-huh,
So it's kind of cool throwback, but I just remember coming up onto this site for in various like random searches,
yeah,
and it would like always have the quick, clear answer, and I'm like, I'm
uh-huh.
gonna bookmark this.
Yeah, and pretty
So the,
and reliable stuff. And
mhm,
he doesn't get too crazy. He's not sometimes you
right,
stumble onto some of these some some sites and it's my way or the highway, but his information was
yes,
fairly straight down the middle. It was pretty, he didn't have any like a lot of personal like just preference stuff. It was pretty straightforward. Just good information. And maybe he'd say this is why I do it or something like that. But there wasn't a lot of bickering with the information that he would put out there amongst mechanics, and that's always a good sign, because some
yeah.
mechanics will tell you that that's the way to do it or the only way to do it, and
Here's how you wrap handlebars.
yeah, oh, yeah, yeah, this way,
Um,
in or out, you cross,
yeah.
yeah,
So no, I like that, and yeah, it's not overkill. It's just kind of concise,
mm-hmm,
and
yep,
it doesn't go on forever. It's like here's what you need to know. It's kind of like well, Wikipedia can be a deep dive, but it's got a Wikipedia vibe almost too. Like
yeah, for bike
click here,
for
this a lot of interrelated links, that kind of stuff.
it's a lot of great information. Like really, it was really well done. I honestly I haven't used it a lot recently, but I there was a time it was a real go to. Um, now I'm just so good,
Nice.
Dan. I'm so good, Danny, with that stuff that I
Oh, pride
no.
goeth before the fall, Joe.
No, not at all. I mean, I still go to it for some oddball stuff. There is some stuff there that maybe I just have to double check but a lot of it is I think when you've been in a bike shop for as long as I
Yeah,
have, you kind of know a lot of that stuff.
of course, of course,
Um,
of course. You know a ton, but hopefully, like other things, there's still some things left to learn. You never want to know everything.
I don't know. Like I'm actually trying to forget things at this point, Danny.
There's only so much room, right?
There's only so much room. Like like I got to make room for new passwords and stuff like that. I think there's.
Password 123. You know that's the most popular password, right?
Is it really?
Oh yeah, you can Google if you don't believe me. It's
Oh
the
no,
number one password in the world. Password 123.
really? I gotta say, I have cracked a couple of like, like there
Oh, you
are
better edit this out.
no, there are websites that I've like, like paywall websites where I've just like guessed the password or something, and it's like real obvious ones, and I've been able to get in. You're just like, huh, I didn't think that would work, but it sure did. One of them
Oh
was
my god.
I think one of them was like Variety magazine, you know. I like believe I typed in like producer 123, it was like early day and that was it. Like somebody really did do like producer or it's just a um
I guess
very simple
yeah.
password.
Depending on where you look, but the number one password, according to one article, CNBC has it's 1234566.
Mm-hmm.
Second one is 123456789,
Oh no, that's mine.
and the other highlight is number four, password capital P. Number seven is 11111,
Wow.
and I digress. But speaking of Turin, if I may switch derailleurs and gears, I went to Turin, the one on is it Damon?
Oh,
Um,
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Chicago. I went there Saturday.
Wow. Okay.
Sarah and I went for a really lovely ride, and we went by Turin. And I said, you know what? I'm just going to do this because I keep putting it off. So I had to get cleats for
Mm-hmm.
my new Velo Sambas, which are the Adidas sneakers, but they're made to work with SPD pedal systems. So I didn't have cleats. I know I have an extra pair somewhere like in a box, and I couldn't find them readily. So I'm
Uh-huh.
like, I'm just gonna buy an extra pair. You could always use an extra pair of cleats. So I went in there and bought one, and I mean, I'd been there before, but it's a nice shop. It's not huge. They
Mm-hmm.
don't have a million bikes, but the bikes they have are really nice, and there have a lot of people working there, so like the service was really good. It's just like a very clean, like it's like a nice shop. Like it's orderly, it's clean. They've got like really nice stuff like apparel and all the other crap you could get, and they had I almost bought like a tubeless kit, with the syringe and the sealant, but I passed because I was out riding. I didn't want to carry it. But anyway, just a nice little shop. So now
Yeah.
that was you were at the one in Evanston, right?
I was at the one I worked when they had a place in North Pier, downtown Chicago, and
Oh, that's
the
right.
Evanston store. Yeah.
Oh
This
my
is
God, that's right.
this is a later this is kind of this is Lee, the owner. This
Lee
is
Katz,
kind of,
right?
yeah, Lee Katz. This is his small kind of passion project. Downsized from having the really big store in having big stores, having multiple stores, having one big store, having expanded, and I think this is like his, um, just he wants to stay in the business, doesn't want the gigantic sprawling store. He wants to keep his hands in it, but
Mm-hmm.
doesn't need 5,000 square feet of store. Just happy to
Right.
have a nice little shop and sell some nice things and have a good crew. And I think the last time I saw him was on a call with the National Bicycle Dealers Association. He was looking good, man. He was looking good. I think we've mentioned trying to get him on the
Yep.
show. We should try to
Yeah,
talk
we've
to him.
talked about him and his involvement with Lake Shoes and
Mm-hmm.
stuff like that, and
Yeah,
his wealth of knowledge. That would be great. I'd
yeah,
love to have him on.
yeah. He is Lake Shoes. He's Lee Allen Katz Enterprises.
Aha! I love
Yes.
it. See, that could be in my cycling pub
Yeah.
trivia.
Yeah. That's kind of that's
How many
definitely a
people would
trivia
get
thing.
that? That would be good. And then we have SRAM, or as you say, SRAM.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think the lake thing. Very few people would get the lake thing. Unless you worked at Turin and or kind of familiar with that, I don't think he's involved with the brand anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't think he owns the brand anymore, but I know the
Mm-hmm.
shop still has some sort of connection to Lake. Um, and yeah, yeah, just he's that's that's a guy with a real rich history in the sport and uh, involved in the sport as it was growing into its heyday, the golden age of cycling in the United States. Highly
Right.
highly highly influential at that time.
Mm-hmm.
So
I sent you a link if you wanted to check it out. But
hmm
looks like an old poster flyer. Turin Bike Shops,
oh
Turin Bicycle Co-op on Clark.
yeah, that was when it was done in Lincoln Park.
I
Is
just
it,
love that photo. That's a great photo.
um, that is it. That I'm looking at the photo now that you sent over, and that is a really it's an amazing photo because all those
It's
guys.
totally amazing.
Yeah, I mean, there's a shop dog there, the bicycles. So the
The
my,
dude on the right looks like he's from Cutters or something.
yeah, yeah. My second boss, so the person who I ended up working for after I worked at Turin was Mark Matei, who owns Cycle Smithy,
Mm-hmm.
and he went on to open a shop down the street from 21. This was 2112 North Clark, so
Wow.
2468 and a half North Clark, so 3-4 blocks down. is the current location of Cycle Smithy. But he worked there. He worked at Turin.
This shop. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, he
Even
worked at that shop.
even that guy in the very middle, he looks like the dad from Breaking Away almost. Like
Yeah.
a slightly younger version.
Uh-huh.
Remember, like, don't eat the eeny food. I don't want the eeny food.
Yeah, those
Linguini. Remember all that?
yeah,
Oh my god.
that's I've seen these pictures. So this one I haven't seen, but I've seen a lot of pictures from that era. And
Yeah.
I always think about that when, as far as like the spirit of the shop, the spirit of the shop that
Yep.
I want to run is like it really is that.
Such a cute shop. It's like in this nice, that little area that it's in. Uh, on Damon, I forget the cross street, but it's such a nice little neighborhood and
Hmm.
very very cozy like shop, and yeah, it was kind of just good to see like it was like a nice Saturday afternoon. It was just good kind of vibe what you like a Norman Rockwell like bike shop scene,
Uh-huh.
just had some Americana and there were people going in and out buying some things and
Awesome.
yeah, I was just like, this is what a bike shop should be.
That's
So,
great. You
and
know what?
I have no connections. I'm not
Yeah.
sponsored. I'm just saying it's a fun little shop
That
if you need something. And
It's great. That's great to hear because they still do a ride out of there. There's still a weekly ride that happens. I mean, he's Lee. For people that don't know who he is, he was heavily involved in the race scene and just kind of very heavily involved in bicycle racing, amateur teams, shop team, um, bringing over European product. He was the Basso importer for a while, um, uh, and he's still there's still a weekly ride going out of that shop. They had the fastest. That was like the bike racer uh, ride back in the '90s was to go up to the Evanston shop and do the Wednesday night Worlds up there. Right? It was
yep,
just
yep.
I mean, it was a who's who of Chicago bike racing up there on a Wednesday night, and
Hmm.
it was just it was a race on the open roads, basically, for a while, and and I know that they're still doing that. I mean, I know that they're still doing a pretty, a fairly important group ride on during the week during the season there. So,
Yeah, I don't. I know we talked about it previously, but
hmm
I know the one that was in Evanston. I think I don't know if we did it together or I know I did that ride at least once.
hmm
It was I just remember it being a very fast, legit ride. And I remember snaking up like
yeah,
to Evanston, and then we did that loop, and yeah, it's a throwback. But yeah, Turin's got a good name and obviously a kind of a heritage.
yeah,
So
strong racing heritage. Yeah, I
yeah,
would say
good shop.
in Chicago, it's probably the racer boy bicycle shop.
Hmm.
Still, I think.
Yep.
I mean, to this day, I don't know. I mean, really, I'm a little bit out of the local scene. Not that there's much of a local scene to
Yeah.
to
Hmm.
partake in anymore. It's not like it used to be. Um,
Yeah. With racing, the one that springs to mind, there may be others I'm just not thinking of, but the one that springs to mind is the Pony Shop,
hmm
which is in Evanston too, and
Yeah, they're big
they have
cyclocross shop.
big
So,
cyclocross shop.
yep.
They have a juniors program, I believe.
hmm
I know some of the dudes who've raced for them and still race for them, and some very heavy hitters.
hmm
So they're like a super legit cyclocross shop. And
hmm
I had a very high end bike built there, a road bike with all the internal cables and like aero, this and that. And they built it up like super pro. So like they have like legit mechanics, and
Yeah.
that's like it's it's a great thing to know that you could just go there and they can fix stuff and like they know how to deal with something that is beyond your capabilities.
Yeah,
So
their team was pretty. Yeah, they were huge in the cyclocrossing, gigantic.
yeah.
I mean, they were the presence when it came to cyclocross. I think they were kind of the
Hmm.
reference in the Chicagoland area for
Hmm.
probably still are very much so. When it comes to cyclocross, but
Yep.
um,
Yeah. They're cool.
in the road race, I don't know that there really is a road racing scene. To the extent there used to be around here. I don't know that anybody. Well, in Chicago, I
Yeah.
don't know that there is a.
It's like
You know.
there is, but I think I know what you're saying. I understand you. Like, it's definitely not what it used to be.
Oh
Like
yeah,
there are some like teams, some local teams
yeah,
that are kind of like clubs,
mm-hmm.
and they have some racers.
Yeah,
And they'll go do like those crits they have in like Montrose Harbor
yeah,
or
yeah.
along the like front. They have a handful of crits. There was one earlier, like this year already in spring, I think, and
Yeah,
stuff like
half
that.
acre half acre
Half acres,
has a
yeah,
little team, and but I'm talking about like this guy is they've got guys on their team that are trying to go to the Tour de France. I mean,
right,
like
right, right,
that
yeah.
just doesn't like I don't
Don't really think we have that.
yeah, I don't know that that even exists very much in the United States anymore. There may be little pockets here and there, but back in the day there was our team when I was at Turin, there were guys going to nationals, and we would
Yep,
the entire half the team would be going to nationals and competing to
yep,
be on the national team, and
mm,
had some sort of aspirations to turn pro,
yep,
or to go, to the next big level United States, pro continental team,
yep.
and I just don't. I mean, I like this Legion team that I read about all the time. I see that they're kind of
I
like
see
a
it everywhere. Yeah,
I see it everywhere, but this is the few times that I've kind of looked at it, it's like these are all older guys, and I mean none of them are headed off to Europe to race
yeah,
on
and
some
I
pro
think
team. This is just like
yeah,
it's like a professional
it's
U.S.
mainly a
crit
crit
team.
squad.
Yeah,
Yeah, and
so
there's that's great. Like that's a U.S. obviously a very American style racing,
hmm
but I know what you mean. Like you don't get the sense that it's like a feeder system that they're developing. I mean, not that I know of. Maybe they have that, and maybe there are other teams we're not even talking about. But I feel like when you get the Sepkisses of the world and
hmm
some of these guys like Quinn Simmons and some of these guys going over racing in Europe and like winning Grand Tour stages,
yeah, yeah.
it's amazing. But I feel like those guys are like I don't want to say random, but they're climbers usually.
hmm
In the case of Sepkus, like ace climber, one of the best in the world, you could argue. I think. He's on Jumbo Visma, maybe the number one team in the world right now. Like, probably, going to do the tour again, I think. But those guys are far and in between, and I feel like, yeah, he wasn't going to be a good crit guy, obviously.
Yeah,
So
well, and I think
what that really means, I'm not really sure. But I feel like we're very. I'm not an expert on this, but I feel like we just have like a very narrow track. If
hmm
you want to go aspire to do something really big in Europe, almost like you have to just go there and race, cut your teeth
yeah.
and race on some like random French team and kind of like
Well, when you're
prove, cut your teeth and prove yourself.
by the time you're 16 or 17, you better be in Europe these days. Like you better be
Yeah.
there racing as a junior and learning because I mean the guys that are lighting it up now are 20 years old, 21 years. By the time you're 20, 21, you better be winning in Europe.
Yeah, I don't know. It's hopefully we're in a transition, but there are some like great American riders over and racing in the world tour, but they tend to be like climbers
Mm-hmm.
and like real specialists. Like,
Mm-hmm.
it's not like back in the day when we would have like 15, 20 Americans at the tour. I mean,
Oh yeah, more than that. I mean, you'd have
it
a
was
full
wild.
American squad, right? It was just
Yeah, yeah.
all Americans on the team, on one team. So
I
yeah.
remember when I remember reading articles like, oh, we only have 12 Americans at the tour. I'm like, oh, bummer. Now it's like, do we have one at the
hmm
tour?
Yeah, there's more
Like, if
Australians.
we have two or three. Yeah. Oh, yeah, totally. If you have like one or two, you're like, oh boy.
Yeah, yeah, and trying to name them
Um,
too. I mean,
yeah. I mean, honestly, Sepkus is probably a shoe in again, and
yeah.
Joe Dombrowski. I don't know. I don't know if he'll race the tour. I think he just did the Giro. Um, Quinn Simmons, I think, is really, really gunning for a tour spot on the Trek Segafredo team. He's currently in the, I think he's in some jersey at the Tour of Swiss right now. But
Yet I can still
anyway,
tell you that Frankie Andreu is from Livonia, Michigan.
I just listened to Frankie. So the week before was Unbound, that gravel race,
Yeah.
which we lightly touched on in the pod. But he was doing the live call with someone else, and I forgot her name, but He was doing the live call for Unbound. It was actually, I think, a pretty difficult event to call because I think they were having problems with the live feed, but
Mm-hmm.
um, he sounded great. He looks great and sharp as attack, and just really, he seems very, very professional. Like comes
Yeah. Yeah.
ready, and he's a good guy.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah,
Like person.
we have a guy in our life, Christian Vanderbilt, local guy, friend of ours, a commentator, and so I follow him a lot on social media, and he's still, man, that dude's still super skinny and just
Oh
like
yeah,
riding up a storm, and seems like he's living his best life. I always see him out there with some professional golf player or some sort of MMA guy or angel investor of some sort. It's like he's always
wheeling and dealing.
with the who's who. So it's kind of fun to see that he's still out there and doing his thing and being able to live from the sport. So
Yeah, for sure.
yeah. Thanks for listening to the Bike Shop Society podcast. If you'd like to get in touch with us, email us at mail@bikeshopsociety.com. If you're on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, you can look us up at Bike Shop Society. That's it. Get in touch with us. We'd love to hear from you. Now, back to the show. Goodbye. There's a big bicycle race going on right now, Danny, apparently.
Oh, yeah?
In France, isn't there?
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Are you talking about the Dauphiné?
Yeah, the Dauphiné.
It's over. It's over, Jeff.
Is it over already?
It's over.
As of was it yesterday that it was yesterday, right? Was it yesterday?
Finished yesterday, yep. Final stage 8.
I saw I guess I saw it today. I saw highlights. So yeah. So I guess that was yesterday.
Well, it's a funny one because the Dauphiné ends the same day that Tour de Suisse starts.
Gotcha.
So Tour, and they're basically, very similar races, right? 1 week. Tour tune-ups, what have you, a lot of climbing, big mountains, all that. So, but no, yeah, the Dauphiné finished Sunday, yesterday. I thought it was a pretty good race. I watched most of it, but kind of like passively. Yeah, there were a couple of good moments. So, you know what it was? It just kind of gave me that like taste, like kind of whets the appetite a little bit because I watched a lot of the Giro, and that was cool, but. Yeah. I think a lot of people said the Giro had some great moments too, but felt kind of sleepy this year. It didn't seem to have this like great like drama and and you'll have that sometimes. But I don't know. I just starting to think about the tour and.
Well, I think everybody is, right. Everybody has kind of this is it's a huge tune-up race it's a tune-up race. I mean, it really is kind of like a.
Yeah.
It really is a tune-up race for the Tour de France, and it's interesting to see who's out there just kind of, testing the motor for, they're literally testing the motor for like a climb, just like, let's see what this thing is going to do, So in that sense, it is kind of interesting because I did watch a few of the highlights, and you just watch them and you can see where they're just drilling it, and then you can see where, I got a 15-second lead. I'm just going to sit here. I'm not going to blow. Like, they're obviously they've got the stage. They're, they don't need to push anymore. They don't need to put themselves in the red anymore. And that was enough. Okay, I saw what I like. You can see it. You see them physically doing it and mentally doing it. Like they knew when to shut off. They knew when to just ride tempo, and it was just it's interesting to watch how programmed and calculated it is, because you can almost see it. You can almost see it. You see it in their riding. You see it in the way that they're riding, where you're just like, look at them. This is not about passion or anything else at this point. This right now is just like, I'm watching my power meter. I'm watching my numbers. We're going at this pace, and we're gonna
for better or worse.
It's I guess it's just the new style of racing. I mean, it's just it is what racing is these days, and it's very different from the kind of racing that we grew up with, where it was all about the passion, Danny. It was about the fire,
very very different,
and the feelings, and there were just those rivalries were just raging, and guys would blow themselves up, and they hated it. It was much more fiery back in our day.
all they had was their Avocet computer with
Uh-huh.
miles per hour, distance.
That's it.
You know,
That's it.
that's it.
That's it.
Yeah, the Dauphiné was pretty good. It finished yesterday, with a huge climb, which was exactly what you're talking about. And Roglic won the stage.
Mm-hmm.
Wait, did he technically win the stage? He
No,
won the
he
race.
won the race.
And oh yeah, that's right. He gifted the win to his teammate. Although that's not probably the best word because his teammate, what's his name,
Vinegard, right?
Vinogard, yeah, maybe even looked stronger than
Mm-hmm.
Roglic, which is pretty interesting. But they won 1-2 across the line, whatever, and um, yeah, Roglic won, but it was very questionable, like his form coming in because he had injury.
Mm-hmm.
He hasn't raced much at all this year, and
Mm-hmm.
there's been all that kind of talk. You get all that kind of chatter going. Is how's he going to be, and all that kind of talk. Like, is he peaking too soon? Other riders with the
Mm-hmm.
tour, and you get into those little things, which is always kind of funny. And then we found out Chris Froome, he was sick. I guess he pulled out, but looked like he was on a good trajectory, and people were wondering, can he really come back? But then he had to bail on the race, so I think that was a huge disappointment. We'll see what happens for the tour for him, but it was a pretty good race. There was some good moments. Although, did you see what happened today, Joe, in the Tour de Suisse?
No, what happened in
Okay,
the Tour de Suisse?
Today was second day.
Uh-huh.
I tuned in for the last 30 minutes. So
Wow, live. You tuned in live for the last 30 minutes?
Yeah, because I
Good for
don't
you.
work till 11,
Uh-huh.
and so when I wake up, Chicago time, the stage finishes somewhere around 10.
Uh-huh.
So I got up and I had my coffee, went for a walk. I was actually walking and I had the race on as I was just kind of going for a walk and grabbed a coffee, whatever. Anyway, solo rider ahead, and he I don't know how long he went solo, but he was solo for a number of miles, and it was one of those things where he had like a minute.
Mm-hmm.
The peloton started really chasing, and they just left it too late, so he won solo. But the story I was going to tell you, and I forgot his name. He's not a major name, but the story I was going to tell you though is then the field came in for the sprint, and Alberto Bettiol, who's on EF Education, who won Tour of Flanders a couple of years ago,
Mm-hmm.
he thought he won the stage.
Oh,
but
no.
he didn't win.
Oh, no. That's
He
always
was
a bad one.
second. He
Oh.
thought he won. And Joe, unlike other times where they find out pretty quickly they didn't actually win,
Uh-huh.
this took a while. He was with his teammates. They all huddled after the line. They're like, yeah.
Because they thought so, but they thought so too.
Yeah, he did. Something happened with his radio. There was
Oh,
confusion. It
no.
went for a while.
Really?
And all of my
Oh.
sweet friends were like, no, cringe. Poor guy, he took it well, of course. They always do. But so whatever, you don't like to see that, but it's always got that weird element of like, So I thought there was a funny tweet from Wout van Aert. So he posted up, he got Oscar Freire in the Dauphiné.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think he won a couple stages, but he could have won 3, and he posted up just a second too soon.
Yep.
And the old Frenchman, David Gaudu, he did the bike throw and beat him on the line. So he got Oscar Freire. And so he was like all embarrassed, but he's such a champ. He's like joking about it. He's like, oh God, how embarrassing. So then today he tweeted out to Alberto Bettiol. He's like, hey man, I'm happy to pass the torch to you.
Nice.
I thought it was good. But yeah, racing's, the racing's picking up now. Obviously we have the Giro, but yeah, I'm looking forward to the tour, man. Sometimes I'm not that jazzed for it, but I don't know. I feel like
kind of need it this
hot, summery Grand Tour.
Kind of need it this year, right? You just need something that it helps kill the month of July. It passed the month of July, every day that you're looking forward to that. I mean, it's really
July goes so fast.
Yeah, it's something. It's nice. I mean, it's still something that I look forward to. Like coming home at night, and even if it's just the highlights at night, and kind of keeping track of that. That's good with me. And then then I got Vuelta in September, and that's always a lot of fun, just because I love the Vuelta. Is just I get to run through Spain for a month, and just kind of visit old haunts through highlights and television.
It's your
So
race, man. It's your home race, basically.
yeah, that one's just always a lot of fun, and it races. It goes through a lot of different parts. It goes through a couple of places that are near and dear to me. Like places where I used to train a lot and have
Nice.
ridden a lot. So it's always fun to kind of see that.
Yeah, for sure. So I'm excited. I'm stoked. And I won't be working it, so I'll just be having fun. And yeah, I think last year I wasn't really working it per se, but I think I did a couple articles around tour time when I was still
Mm-hmm.
at Business Insider. But yeah, but this time like I'm just be having fun watching it, um, enjoying the racing. Hopefully it's a good race. You don't like to see the dominant teams with the guy with a 5 minute lead, already early in the race, and it's one of those things where it's just stage wins, which are cool, but
Mm-hmm.
hopefully we have a nothing better than a GC battle to the last
Yeah,
stage show.
I'm so rooting for Pogacar. Or not Pogacar. I'm sorry for Roglic.
Roglic.
Yeah, I'd love to see him get one. He's just been
Me
such a.
too.
I mean, I just at this point he's the old man. Compared to some of these young guys, and so it's
Yes, he
just.
is.
I mean, I just love to see him. He's been such a consistent rider over the years, and so close, and so good, entertaining, and seems like a really good guy and a good. I don't know that I think cycling would be very happy if he won. I think cycling as a whole would be, I think they would be very happy if he got one. Seems like he
100%.
seems like a really likable. I just like his racing style. He seems like a gentleman, kind of in the old school sense of bike racing. So
He totally does, and he seems obviously we don't know him, but if you can judge by his public persona, he seems super chill. Just
hmm
like seems like a cool guy. He's got that X ski jumping background, which is just fun.
yeah.
And by the way, Joe, this is kind of hot. All right, so there's a young woman I know.
hmm
I don't know her well, but I know her online, as it were. Her name is Kate Wagner,
Uh-huh.
and um, she's a journalist. She has a blog. I think a Substack. Have you checked out any Substacks? The paid newsletter service.
No. Mm-mm.
So she has a Substack. I forget what it's called, but nonetheless, we follow each other, and she is basically a Slovenian cycling expert.
Oh.
She has been on the top podcasts, including the cycling podcast, which is, I think, the best known. She has written for various publications, including like Bella News and I think Rouleur and some of those. And she is currently in Slovenia, and she has interviewed, I believe, both Pogacar and Roglic on a few occasions, and
Mm-hmm.
she's really, really into that scene, and she knows like the history and like the background,
Uh-huh.
and she is a Chicago person.
No way.
Yeah, it's just like all these coincidences kind of
She's a Chicago
together
person?
later. I don't know if she's from here, but
Uh-huh.
she lives in Chicago,
She lives in
and
Chicago.
yeah, she lives in Chicago. She's currently in. I'll send you her Insta. Her
Huh.
Insta. Um, she's described as a cultural architecture critic, cycling journalist specializing in Slovenian cycling. And she
Slovenian
has,
cycling.
yeah, everyone listening should check her out. Maybe people already know her.
Huh.
But she's great. She has a ton of personality. She's very smart. And you know what? She's actually got this cool background as like an architecture critic, and she has a blog. She's been on some like big shows. I think she has a TED talk. Her whole, one of her big things is like McMansions are hell.
Okay.
So she has a blog called McMansion Hell or something, where she just rips on like McMansions as like these horrible monstrosities. She's great. She's amazing. So I think maybe she'll come on the pod someday,
Yeah, you know what? We should
and that could be great to have her in the run up to the tour.
mm-hmm.
So if she's back and available, I don't know when she's back. I can tell from her Insta she's in Slovenia right now. I think she just went back, but yeah, she's interesting. She's cool. I think it would be great to have her on and just be like, hey, give us the details on these guys because they could go 1-2 again at the tour. So
Yeah, you know
if
what?
you're game,
That would be really interesting. You know, that's I had no idea that that was she
yep,
was local like that. You know that there was
yep.
somebody who's local and that into Slovenian cycling. That's a very nichey thing.
Yep, she rides a green Bianchi road bike along the lakefront. I think she's posted a few pics, and
Is she
yeah,
involved? Is she involved in racing? Is she part of a club or something locally? Is there
I
something that?
don't know. I
Uh huh.
don't think so. I think she's more of a casual rider. I'm
Okay.
not, but yeah, I also sent you Kate Wagner's Substack. And what's it called? Derailleur. Speaking of Derailleur,
Ah.
so Substack is basically, I don't know if you know it. It's just it's actually gotten a ton of coverage like in the past year or so. But a lot of journalists, the thing seemed to be for a while that journalists were quitting their jobs and starting a Substack.
Mm-hmm.
So Substack is basically like you can have your own. That's where you do your email newsletter,
Okay.
and you can charge for it. And
Gotcha.
so you try to get subscribers. So
Huh.
it's had like it kind of blew up, but yeah, I think she'd be great to have on, like a unique voice. Again, she has that Chicago connection, and
Mm-hmm.
she's all expert about Slovenia, and I think she's a really good writer, and
I
she has
just
like really
Yeah, I'm just
funny,
curious.
cool stuff
I'm curious
about.
about her story. Just like how do you go from the lakefront to covering Slovenian cycling? You know,
Yeah,
like it's
yeah, I don't
specifically
know if she.
Slovenian cycling. One thing is cycling, but the to niche it out to Slovenian cycling is pretty cool.
Yeah, I'm not sure if she's from there originally or
Mm-hmm.
something like that, but we could find out. But yeah, she's very colorful. She has a great Twitter. She has a great Instagram, and
Nice,
her Substack is cool. So
cool.
I think we
Yeah,
should have her on, man. I think it'd
people
be fun.
should look her up. Kate Wagner, right? That's her handle on Instagram. Kate Wagner,
I believe,
Instagram.
yep, I believe so. And like I said, she has this really funny kind of background doing this cool background doing architecture criticism, and she can be really, really funny talking about these McMansions.
Oh,
I think McMansion Hell was her other newsletter.
I talk a little Mies van der Rohe with her. You know.
Oh,
Yeah.
there you go, dropping the Mies.
Well, I
Um,
used to sponsor the through the bike shop. We used to sponsor the Illinois Institute of Technology cycling team,
oh, nice.
and so there are a lot of architects and engineers on that cycling team. And actually, one of the kids that helped me build the bike shop was a like actually build like counters and the things at the bicycle shop. Was our architecture student at the Illinois Institute of Technology,
That's
and
legit.
I petitioned them, or I asked them nicely one year that to name the team Mises Pieces, but they wouldn't.
That's
and,
awesome.
and do their jersey, with like a Reese's Pieces knockoff, but it would say Mises Pieces. But I think like there were two architects. They were like architects and engineers. They just it
Yeah,
was a little bit too. It was
I love that.
beyond them a little bit,
Mises
but.
Pieces.
Hmm.
Oh, that is a good one. So she's great. I think we should have her on. Maybe when she's ideally, for our purposes, she'd be back from Slovenia in the next couple of weeks, and then we'd be like, "Hey, come on our show. Let's talk about the
Hot off,
tour."
yeah, hot
You know what I
off
mean?
the plane,
I
yeah.
mean, we could get some scoops out of that, Joe.
Hey, you know what? Let's see if we can get her.
Yeah, I think that'd be fun. So exciting! We're in the thick of summer. I've been trying to ride.
Hmm. And running, you were running today.
Well, I literally ran 1 mile, just to
Uh
be
huh.
clear,
You know,
but I don't run super fast or very long.
the one nice thing about running is how efficient it is. Like if how
Oh God,
efficient a
yeah.
workout it is. You can go out and you knock out 30 minutes or whatever it is, and you've got you're
Yep.
done. You're done for the day,
Yep.
right? And
Yep.
like not like a fake workout, but like a real workout. Whereas if I go
Mhm.
down to the basement and I ride my trainer for half an hour, it's like barely a warm up, right? It's
Yep.
like just
Yep.
spin. It's like a active massage, right?
Yes. That's a good way to put it.
Yeah, yeah. That's the way I put it in my head anyway. Like, oh,
Yes.
active massage day for 30
You're
minutes.
100% right. It is so easy to sneak her up,
Mm-hmm.
head out for a run. Even if you just run slowish for a half hour, it's still a good workout. Um,
But
and you can come back, have a quick shower. Like you don't have to kit up, kit down,
yeah,
bikes, pumping tires, chains, blah blah
yeah.
blah blah. I mean, biking's great. We love it, but it's actually just a really good cross training too because it works a lot of different muscles.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You talk about like ankles,
Mm-hmm.
just mobility and joints and different muscles and things like that. Like it's just yeah, it works different things. So that just complements your riding. And then if you're doing anything like cyclocross, like you kind of have to do some running. You don't have to do a lot, but you will run in cyclocross, very short distances, but
Are you
you got to
thinking of,
build. You got to build that up.
are you
So,
thinking about doing cyclocross again this year? Is there
uh,
something in the back of
I
your head that's
no, actually, it's not. I mean, I sometimes think about it, but
mm-hmm.
I'd have to be at a certain level of fitness. I'm moving toward that, but it's taking a while. I'd have to be at a certain level of fitness to even
Sure.
want to
Yeah.
compete because I don't want to just show up and ride at the back. You
Well,
know,
you put a Wonder Woman outfit on, you'll be fine.
you've been in my closet again, Joe, haven't you?
I think that's how you do it, right? You just
I told you to stay
you put
out.
out some sort of superhero costume, and then you can go slow as you want, and
I, I
still be the belle of the ball.
I would probably go as like Tootsie or something.
Oh,
Um,
that's very highbrow, and with
there you
all
go. There you go.
like
It's kind of
only
meta, right? It's like a wink, wink
only a
nod to the
handful of
old
people would
school.
get it too. Like maybe
That's the thing, and
like
so it'd be extra weird.
like nobody would.
um,
You know what? People they wouldn't know what to make of you.
and
Like
they'd
these
just be like,
days.
I think he just likes to dress like that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Short answer, no. But there's always a possibility. The nice thing about it is you get. I think you still get like a 1 day license and just do the race for fun.
Mm-hmm.
So there are a couple of cool races. So who knows? We'll see how things go. But no, this whole year is just about riding
Are
and
you finding it
just
hard to get back in shape? Like,
yeah.
or maybe not even hard. I shouldn't say hard, but um, like I'm realizing right now, like I don't know, I guess my expectations were a little bit higher as to where I could, like, I don't know what I thought where I thought I would be riding wise, or how strong I would be, or my fitness level of, and
Yeah.
so um, I I don't know if I'm going to be able to do some of the things that I did before. As far as riding wise, it's like, am
It
I going to?
sounded so
Yeah,
serious.
well, I don't know. Like, am I going to be able to ride 150 miles, or am I going to be able to do like a double century at some point, or, am I going to like what? I still haven't figured out like what my thing is now going in.
Well,
I know
Joe,
riding slow, riding slow. I think riding slow for long distances is kind of like I'm kind of starting to zero in on um, what I'm going to do, but I
reality
don't know.
is.
Like, I have no idea. Like I have right now, I just got, I'm feeling better on the bike, and I'm obviously stronger right now than I was last year, but I have like, I see some of these numbers now. Like that's another thing that I never trained with was wattage. And I see
Hmm.
like these now now you have this legit thing to compare to what people are doing.
Hmm.
And you're like, oh my God, you try to do that. You're like, this is ridiculous. I can't do that, but I do see people my age knocking it out and doing some of these things.
Hmm.
And I'm like, boy, oh boy, that's going to take a lot of work. Like, like I can't believe those guys are doing, they're my age and they're putting out 350 watts for a couple hours or whatever it is. Like that's a major,
Yeah.
that's major work, like the kind of
Yeah.
training that would be involved and the leaps that I would have to take in my training that would be hardcore, because I'm looking at like maybe going back to Europe and visiting some friends there and doing some riding with them. But now that I'm watching, I'm seeing like some of their data and how fast they're going. I'm like, I question whether I'm going to be able to go on that group ride with them. So
Yeah.
it's just kind of it's interesting to and granted some of these guys have never stopped riding, like
Yeah.
they just never took time off. They've been riding every they've been hitting it for the last 20 25 years I stopped training, they never did. They've been riding consistently. So,
Yeah, and that's the thing, it's just that accumulation, right? That build up
hmm
year after year, season after season. So you have to take that in, perspective as
sure.
well. I'm kind of in the same boat. Like I've had years where I rode a lot and trained a lot and
hmm
did a good bit of racing, and then there were years where I didn't do anything with the bike. I didn't
Yeah.
touch the bike. So
Yeah.
very up and down. But I don't know. Like I think to answer your question, I think it's a bit of a mixed bag. There are definitely some days where I feel like really good. I'm
Yeah.
like, wow, I haven't felt good on a bike in a while.
Uh
Like I
huh.
feel really good. Like not like great compared to when I was racing a few years ago, but like okay, dropping some pounds, just getting my bike dialed and
hmm
just putting in some efforts, but then there are days where I go out and I just feel like hell.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
just like,
Yeah.
oh, like I feel like really bad. I'm
Yeah.
like, I don't feel good at all. And I can't really push. So, I think the name of the game here, maybe for you too, but definitely for me is like you got to be, it's like just slow, methodical
hmm
every day. And everything kind of contributes to that, like diet,
Yeah.
rest,
Yeah.
obviously, all this, but
Yeah.
diet, rest, and all that stuff. Uh,
I
and,
gotta,
and
yeah.
just just balancing it out too. Like I'm just trying to like have some variety in my riding, and
hmm
I think really the big picture is it's tempting to compare ourselves, to really fit riders who
hmm
are just riding all the time and haven't really stopped, those guys and gals, and the people who are competing.
Yeah.
Like it's quite different. So at least for me, Joe, like just been just aiming. My goal is just like go out, ride, have some fun,
hmm
get a good workout in. Even if I do a moderate ride, like I think I rode 40 plus on Sunday yesterday. It wasn't a hard ride, but I was riding pretty moderately,
Yeah.
or even a little bit above in some places, and it was it was actually kind of a nice day out. It wasn't too hot, and Saturday we just noodled around, but like even yesterday doing 40 plus, like it felt pretty good, but I can definitely tell like, oh, I probably didn't, those few days I had off during the week, I can kind of feel those a little bit almost
Yeah.
like that, just that little lack. And maybe part of it's in my head, but I think for me it's just going out riding, having fun, just exploring some new routes, even like riding down to the shop just like on a nice day. And
Yeah.
I feel like it just all kind of comes along eventually. I'm trying to lightly sprinkle or drizzle in some efforts.
hmm
I'm not doing anything really structured. It's just more like I know a certain stretch of road really well, and it's like I might just go hard for 45 seconds,
Sure.
or uh, medium hard for like 2 minutes.
hmm
My heart rate's not at like 180. I'm just going like, 150. And
Yeah.
I'll just try to like keep a nice cadence and just like some of the fundamentals, like kind of going back to that. Again, it's nothing structured. I'm not doing over unders or intervals or 2010s or any of that nonsense,
hmm
where I would puke through my eyeballs, when I was racing cross. But
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. It's just a long way of saying I think just take it as it comes. And but I do find it, of course, it's challenging as you get older, and we're not old, but it's
No.
just kind of normal. And I think part of it for me too is like I put on some weight, so I'm just not used to riding as like this heavy person. So
Sure.
that's like a realistic
Yeah.
aspect to it. And so fortunately, it is coming off steadily. So that's cool. And
I feel better than I have in a long time on the bike for sure.
yeah, yeah,
Just
for sure.
personally, but now, like I said, now that you have like data to look at and stuff, and you're comparing it, you're like, oh my God, this is like you're a long ways off from that. Personally,
Well,
I'm in better shape than
yep,
I've been in
yeah,
a very long time. So if I don't compare it to anything, it's great. But I have noticed like being on the bike, on the path where obviously some guy who's super fit on a road bike will kind of pass me up, and it looks like he's just out tooling around and just gets up the road from me very fast, like really quickly.
yep, Yep.
you can just kind of tell when a guy's really fit, right? And it's not
Yep.
that he's
Yep.
blowing by me; he's just spinning,
Yep.
but he's
He's
spinning
just
at a
going fast.
he's
Yeah.
just going fast, and you're just like,
Yep.
whoa, man! Like that used to be me, and it's not me
That
right now.
used to be you.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. It used to be us. Yeah.
that's not me right now, and it's like I don't know, that looks like fun.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right. Like, hey,
that looks like a lot of fun. Although
hey, buddy, got any tips?
yeah, I mean, I'm going. At least I'm to the point where I can go past some people now, and easily. But it's
Of
just like
course.
when you see those guys that are kind of in form and stuff, you're just like, whoa, man, I miss those days. I do kind of miss those days.
Of course. That's yeah, I think that's totally natural. And I think it's also important, and you know this too, but I think it's important we don't compare ourselves too much. I think it's inevitable we're going to compare ourselves at some point, and
hmm
it can be fun. It can also be a little bit daunting.
Yeah.
But I think it, also put it in perspective too. So,
It,
yeah, I
it,
mean,
it, you know what? It makes
go
me
ahead.
really admire some of these old time pros now that are doing like that do these little rides, these pre-tour rides and
Fondos and
fondos and
different
stuff.
things.
Because
Yep.
you're like, holy cow, Pedro Delgado is like in great shape. I mean, he's doing a 150-mile fondo or ride with, and he's finishing in a good time, and he's out
Yep.
there taking pictures and doing stuff like all these old pros. I saw he just did a ride where he was with Philippa York.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, he did some sort of thing in maybe Mallorca or somewhere in Spain where they were doing a ride with Movistar, and um, you see them out there and they're knocking out 150K fondo or something,
Boom.
and
No problem.
on a regular basis, and of course he does this tour, they call it the Perico Puertos, where they climb all the big climbs of the race and do like a preview
Oh,
of the course.
yeah, yeah.
He'll find like the local pro or some old time bike racer, and they do it together. They climb and kind of give you a 10,
Yep.
15 minute preview of what the challenging climb of the day or climbs of the day
Yep.
are, and still fit, still really fit, but I obviously in really good shape, like amazingly good shape for your age, because to be able to go and do those things and finish with those groups, and I take a peek at their times and I'm like, boy, that's a 6 hour day on the bike, and you're out there doing it, good for you, man. So
Yes.
yeah, there's a lot of there are a lot of ex pros that are still just
Simon
killing it.
Gerrans. I mean, he's pretty recently retired, but he's crazy fit too. Um, but I was going to say just a little bit related to that, Joe. So one thing I have found that kind of works with my schedule and kind of works for me, and just like physiologically is making a lot of sense right now, is that I'm trying to do one. That's not like a really long ride, but I'm trying to do like one meet. For me right now, it's like a medium longish ride. So trying to do like 50 to 60 miles. It's almost always like on a Saturday or a Sunday, and I try to put in some good efforts during the ride. Honestly, sometimes just riding 50 miles slow is like a little bit of a challenge,
hmm
depending how I'm feeling or how hot it is. Um, but no, I'll try to do. I'm trying to ramp up more where I do one at least moderate, if not a little bit harder than moderate, like 50 to 50 plus mile ride per week. I find if I could just get one of those in, I just feel like I get like a ton of benefit from it. One, it like burns a ton of calories, and it just pushes me like it's pushing me like not to my limits, but it's pushing me. It's
hmm
pretty challenging.
Yep.
And then that if I do that on a Saturday, then Sunday I'll have like an easy ride, just kind of a chill 25, just spin around. And then during the week, I try to just get in like a 10 to 20 mile ride, and I might put in a couple efforts there. Um, but sometimes I just go out and ride really chill recovery. But I find if I do that one longish ride, so I know with the shop it's tricky, but maybe you can get out early in the morning or something. But I find that just does like a lot of good for me. It just works for me.
Yeah, there's something about long rides. It just kind of triggers something in and I think that that's probably going to end up being my sweet spot, where it's not going to be a lot of punchy, fast stuff, but it's going to be diesel, good
Yep.
long, long ride, long time, comfortable pace, and just enjoyable, and just a new just a new phase of cycling that I've never really been able to
Right.
just never really had except for early season bike riding, right? The long, slow distance, the old school,
LSD, yeah.
training miles, base miles.
Yeah.
So a lot of base mile rides, that's kind of where you're going to end up. And it's actually kind of a big thing in cycling right now. Those kind of,
Yes.
ultra
I'm,
distance or, you know, uh,
oh, it's huge now.
long
Yeah.
rides.
But yeah, I don't know. If you're open to it, I would suggest that, and maybe we can even do one. But if you have time, like you'd have to get up early and plan it out a little bit before you open the shop. But you can get in like a 2-3 hour, 2.5 hour ride. Like
Mm-hmm.
you could do like a nice 50 miles and maybe throw in a couple little climbs and put in a couple efforts. Like, yeah, I just find I get a lot of benefit. And I'm also just have to be like really realistic too. Unless I basically take a day off work, I'm not going to be able to do like long rides during the week. Yeah,
Yeah.
so that's where I'm at. And,
Yeah.
part of it too is like I've learned one thing is like not to overthink all this stuff. Like a lot of it just kind of happens naturally. Like I
Mm-hmm.
find like I'm just riding more, you're gonna get faster, you're gonna get lighter, you're gonna have more punch. And I don't even like you're talking about comparing yourself to other cyclists. Like I don't even like to compare myself to my own self like from like 2-3 years ago.
Yeah.
Not that I was like winning races necessarily, but I was like a lot leaner and I was putting out some decent numbers. And now I'm like, oh, I couldn't do that if you paid me like $100.
No, no, I know, man. I
So
know.
but that stuff will come eventually. And so it's really just a matter. And the whole like we'll leave it for another conversation. Maybe we'll talk to an expert. But yeah, that as you get older too, obviously you lose muscle mass. So
Mm-hmm.
you're kind of it's a little Sisyphean. Like you're working to get fitter, and cycling is great at burning a lot of calories, but it can be tricky because you don't obviously want to burn too much muscle.
Yep.
And so it's a little bit tricky that way. And I think the answer, Joe, is squats.
Hey, I've been trying to figure out how to activate my glutes. It seems to be a muscle that I have
I
not
heard.
been able to engage in my right. I've noticed that you know
Can you
my
can you do it while you're at the shop? Like,
I
can you do some like
I
special dance,
yes, I
some
don't know.
dancing with the stars, some
You know what?
some disco?
I'm afraid that my wife might stumble onto my YouTube like watched videos, and there's a lot of there's some videos of like girls doing some weird stuff to get big bubble butts, and like
Oh yeah,
a lot of the glute channels are. It's not exactly cycling specific channels. It
right.
just has they're going for a different thing there, but
Where have
yeah,
I
yeah.
ended up? Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny. You just kind of lose access to certain muscles and all that stuff. It's been a real learning thing. Like these are things that obviously we just never thought about when we were young cyclists.
Not at all.
I don't know that
Never thought about
that
cross
the
training.
yeah that the information was even out there really. I mean, have you ever watched some of the old school? Um, there are some great. I'll send you links at some point to. I stumbled upon like a Kelme um,
Ooh,
like a training, like mid 80s training video, like some of the Spanish teams and some of the
what?
Euro teams, like
Oh my
from
God.
there were like reports from their winter training camps. And, like
Wow.
they show them like in a room doing like calisthenics and like, like, like,
Like with like headbands and wristbands,
it's
like
even,
old school tracksuits.
yeah, it's just kind of really funny. It's funny stuff. It's just they're funny exercises, but I
You
mean
gotta
it.
you gotta send that to me, man.
Yeah. It's fantastic. It's just watching them do like some of the things that
Jumping jacks.
yeah, some of the things that everybody thought was very important to do during the off season. Back in the day.
Right, right.
Remember they had those remember those winter training camps when they would go and like pretend they would train like like military snipers and stuff. They go hiking in the woods and in
Oh
the
yeah,
snow
Navy
and
SEAls. Yep,
yeah,
yep.
like Navy SEAL training, or all jump in a boat uh and like paddle out and like into the sea. Who?
Yeah, that was a fad for a while. Teams were all about that, and I think
Yeah,
I actually did a little article on
did
that. But
you?
yeah, they I just got like photos. I interviewed the guy from I'm forgetting the team, the diabetes team, Team Type One,
Oh yeah,
and they did that. They basically got this company that has these ex Navy SEALs, and they bring them out. It's like the tough them up training,
yeah,
and then there's
yeah,
like a leadership component, and they go into the woods and they have like tug of war and they climb trees and
yeah,
they roll logs in the freezing water.
yeah,
And it's like all this crazy shit.
yeah,
It's super hard. And these like weak ass cyclists who are great from the waist
yeah,
down, but once they're above the waist, they're just like
yeah.
they're just like freshmen in high school.